What is up, humans of the cardboard? Welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we are taking a look at Trap Pile. It's a really cool deck. It's something I've been looking at and messing around a little bit as of late. This is a 60 card Trap Pile. There's a ton of different trap cards. It's not just Eldlich. I think that deck is interesting, but I do think very quickly that deck can get very old because really, as far as your engine is concerned, the only thing you're playing with is just the basic Eldlich engine, and it does what it does, and it does what it does well, but it can get old very quickly. So this variant, this 60 card variant, has a couple of other engines splashed in, which is really cool, and you just have heck of utility on heck of utility. It's insane the amount of utility I have access to in this deck. So hopefully if you like trap decks, this will be a cool one to look at, and definitely something to mess around with. Feel free to expand on this, try out some other things, but this is the variant I'm looking at right now. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Let's start off with our monster lineup. It's not a huge one, but there are some cool choices in here. Starting off, of course, we have triple Lilith, Lady of Lament. We're not really playing Lair of Darkness here, but Lilith is just so generically good in just like straight up trap decks that I wanted to play her as one of my normal summons. Also one Ecclesia. We're playing Punishment because it's just too good not to play in heavy trap variants. And so by playing her gives us a way to use Dogmatica Punishment to connect back into some sort of engine, so you can take advantage of the Ash Dragon, and then one copy of Kamika. She's searchable, and sometimes if you already have access to Arlecchino, you just want to double up on Interruption, so you can go for Kamika, you get a body out of it, while also getting another trap for Interruption. So I like these as my normal summons. I don't want to go too heavy on normal summons. I want my hand to be mostly traps, but these cards are still really good. Obviously, opening the Lilith is almost just the same as opening any normal trap card in the game. So you gotta love that. And you guys know how much I love layers. Just being able to play Lilith in a deck is always fun for me. Moving on to the high level, or I guess boss monsters for the deck. Triple copies of Amazement Administrator Arlecchino, double copies of Eldlich the Golden Lord, and triple copies of Lord of the Heavenly Prison. These are your boss monsters. Arlecchino is searchable, although most of the time you want to just hard open him, just kind of like Multi-Faker, right? You're just going to, he has a very similar effect, but also has removal, and he's still a really good card altogether, and he's a bigger body, all that stuff, applies more pressure, that kind of thing. Obviously, Eldlich is just mandatory. I like playing 2 in this deck because it allows us to apply a little more pressure when the time comes, and also it means you don't lose to 1 DD Crow, and DD Crow is kind of popular. Called by the Grave is being played in a lot of decks, stuff like that. We just don't want to lose to those kinds of cards. And then Heavenly Prison is just, if you're playing a back row deck, like, you kind of have to play this card. It's just too good to not play. Being able to make it so you're not losing to stuff like Lightning Storm, Harpy's Feather Duster, as frequently, while also getting you really good follow-up. We have a couple of interesting choices here. Also, just the fact that we play a ton of utility trap cards, even on the follow-up, just being able to set any utility trap you want, it still has its value for sure. Like if you're playing into DPE, just being able to set like Transmigration Prophecy and shuffle it away before your opponent gets to bring it back is so crazy good. So there you go. That's our monster lineup. Only 13. No monster hand traps or anything like that. Yeah, seems pretty straightforward. Moving into the spell lineup, I've got triple copies of Amazing Time Ticket. This is a card that helps us get to Arlecchino if we want to, but also does some other things. I like this card a lot. Like, you could say, like, John, that's not a trap card, but it's a quick play spell. And so, like, because you can set this into a board and use it to just get one of the trap cards for Amazement is still actually pretty good. I like that utility. And also, if you just didn't have a normal summon, being able to get Kamika, or if you really want to get to something that applies more pressure, like Arlecchino, gets you him. And yeah, so... And once your opponent sees what we're playing, they're probably going to Ash this if you're using the effect for your turn, just because they think we might not have a ton of cards in the deck that even are going to give them a chance to Ash if they think we're playing just like 60 card trap pile. Also playing One Into Your Servant. This is just a cool option. I liked having this at 1 because what this is just a, the biggest thing it is Lord of the Heavenly Prison target. is on the back crack. If I don't, on the back crack, on the crack back, if there's nothing else I really want, I can just set Nadir Servant. And then, you know, Nadir, send an Intis, search Ecclesia. So we remove a card to help clear through a board, or just clear anything in general. Then we get to use normal Ecclesia effect to get another punishment. And we're not like killing our opponent. I almost thought about playing Fleur-de-Lis on top of this, just so I could go this Ecclesia for Fleur-de-Lis, summon Fleur-de-Lis, and Fleur-de-Lis plus Ecclesia is 5,000 damage. So almost in that instance, I almost thought about playing Fleur-de-Lis, but I just felt like we weren't going to be consistently getting to it enough to warrant playing it, because we're only playing the one Nadir. But still a cool one-of to be able to set. And if you draw it, there's no harm done. If we didn't open a normal summon, we just go for Ecclesia. Normal Ecclesia, get a punishment. You know, punishment's just that good. That doesn't hurt at all. Then we have some pots, triple copies of Extravagance and triple copies of Duality. If you'll notice, we're not doing a lot of special summoning on our turn, so Pot of Duality is pretty good. Like theoretically, like we're summoning Eldlich on our opponent's turn more than our own turn. We have Arlecchino coming out usually on the opponent's turn, not our own. And Heavenly Prison, same thing, summoning on the opponent's, the late in the opponent's turn and not on our own. So Duality is just totally fine. In this deck, just lets you look through 3 and hopefully pick whichever's the most useful. In a deck with 60 cards, sometimes it can be hard to find exactly what you want, but at least having the ability to pick between 3 is still good. Although sometimes I almost wish I don't draw this. At least Extravagance is like baiting negates really easily. A lot of people don't want to negate Duality though, because you're not digging quite as deep as Prosperity, and it's just a 1-for-1. So it still works out. It's fine. Most people aren't ashing it or negating it usually, but Extravagance is a good bait there. And it's just a +1, so I like playing it. And the last spell I play in the main is 1 card of Demise. This was an interesting like last second addition. The idea of this is, again, a huge power card to be able to set off of Lord of the Heavenly Prison. So if, you know, assuming it's like maybe close and my opponent did a good job at playing through our back row turn 1, or maybe we just didn't open the best like type of cards to like of interruptions versus our opponent, then we can set this off of a Lord. And this is going to guarantee us just like so much value on the next turn. We're going to draw 3, assuming stuff, and then we're going to just go realign our whole back row again. And yeah, and just run away with advantage. So it's cool. It's a 1-of, and technically it's a 4-of because it's searchable off of Heavenly Prison. So I thought it was an interesting card. We're playing enough traps where even if you hard draw this, like it's still usually going to be pretty dang good, or just even as follow-up. Once you've used a bunch of your traps, just as follow-up to guarantee you're getting 3 more trap cards or something to like restack your back row. It can help you come back in a duel. So gotta like that. And then the rest of the cards in the deck are traps. So as you can see, we had 13 monsters and what is it, like 11? I think 11 spells. So 24 there, which means we got about 36 trap cards to get through. Let's knock out a decent chunk real quick, just going over the Eldlich engine. Of course, triple Sanguine, triple Conquistador, and triple Hawk. Nothing too crazy to speak of here. Yeah, one thing that's interesting to note is that stuff like Lilith gets us to Eldlixir of the Scarlet Sanguine, and that's pretty neat because so I've found in certain decks where like Lilith is cool, she gets you to a lot of utility and different interruptions and stuff out of trap cards, but a lot of times she doesn't get you to engine pieces. But because this card is just like a 1-card start to your engine, this card actually does connect you into your engine, which is really cool. Then you have Conquistador and Hawk. Those are just basic. Not playing the counter trap, not playing anything else, but those seem pretty good to me. Moving on here, we've got our Amazement lineup. I've got triple copies of Horror House, 1 Cyclo Coaster, and 1 Rapid Racing. Also pretty just solid. Like this one's the best one by far, and these are just decent utility. If you hard draw them, they're not even bad at all. If this guy's attached to your own Amazement monster, it's just like an MST. And this, if it's on your opponent's monster, it can search for an Amazement card or Amazement monster, right? Yeah, Amazement monster. So you can search like Arlecchino on your opponent's turn, and then if you have any other trap to activate, have a way to get out the Arlecchino, which is pretty cool. This card kind of made me want to play 2 of it, just because if I play 2, it means Lilith can at least get to this, getting this or a trap trick, so that way Arlecchino does become a little easier to get access to. But I don't know. I don't think it's like the biggest deal in the world. I don't really want to draw it all that often, so it's fine. And then the one Rapid Racing. This card can be an okay interruption depending on the matchup if on top of Horror House, because unfortunately Horror House's effects are like all one effect, and it's hard once per turn. So you once you have a Horror House or an Arlecchino, like that's your interruption. So it's nice to have another way to like get a second interruption. Obviously it's matchup dependent, but usually it's going to be pretty good because it can either like modulate your opponent's levels or be like a DD Crow, or I think it shuffles any card. Yeah, it shuffles it back into the deck, which is not bad at all. All right, moving on with the trap lineup. Triple Punishment. This card's insane. I don't need to explain this. We're playing a heavy trap deck that doesn't use the extra deck very much, so of course Punishment is there. We'll get to some of the extra deck targets in a little bit. Triple Compulsory Evacuation Device. I'm not going to lie to you. If I could choose, this would probably be Ice Dragon's Prison, but just for a little, you know, budget variant, Compulse is nice as well. I just wanted a quick play card that could kind of just respond and handle DPE. So like if I already have this set and they activate DPE, I can chain this and at least guarantee that the DPE is not coming back to the field later on. It's still bad because they're still going to have to pop something else, but it is what it is. You got to play what you can to, you know, handle that card the best, because a lot of decks have bad matchups versus back row decks, except if they play DPE, and then that's like a card that's like so good into back row decks. It's crazy. So you got to have whatever you can to hopefully handle it. Triple Impermanence. It's imperm. It's the only hand trap we can really afford to play in the main, in my opinion. And other than that, it's still, you know, it's good. I mean, I like it. It's negation. We don't have a lot of negation. We have a lot of removal, and so it's nice to have something that can be that kind of negation. And the last of the utility cards, double Transmigration Prophecy and triple Heavy Stormduster. I almost want to drop Stormduster to 2 and play the third Prophecy, because this card is an even better response to DPE. You just let your opponent resolve the DPE, and as long as they didn't hit like exactly this card or something, then you can just shuffle, or you can potentially use Lord of the Heavenly Prison to set this, and then on the next standby phase, when they try to resolve the DPE, or I guess during draw phase, you could get rid of the DPE and the Celestial, so they don't get the draw 2 or the DPE. And also just like every deck in the format feels like it has some graveyard synergy, so this card just feels really good. So I almost want to play 3 of this, and then Stormduster is just really nice. It feels like there are a couple decks around right now where it's just having access to this is just so important. As a 2 of, it means Lilith can technically get it and Trapped Critic can technically get it. You probably only need 1 per duel, so I would definitely consider doing that swap and playing like 3 and 2, but obviously it depends on where the meta is. I just like having access to this. This will just win you duels having it in the main for game 1, and I definitely appreciate that. There, obviously, I've shown you all these normal traps. We're playing Trap Trick, and I'm playing 3 of it. I don't care. I know some people gripe about playing this card at 3 in any deck because, like, it's just not correct or whatever. Lilith only needs 1 or 2 just to guarantee you're resolving into search 2 ofs. But the long story short, this is a 60-card variant. We're not drawing 2 copies of this card very often, so I'd rather just get the utility. You just save it in your back row. It's one of the last things you're going to activate, and just get whatever you need at that moment, because I just think the utility this card provides you is too good to ignore. Although if you wanted to play 1 or 2, I wouldn't hate you for it. The only counter trap I'm playing is Strike. I would side Judgment probably for going first, but Strike's just too good going second, right? Being able to set this in like a Punishment, this in a Compulse, this in, you know, well, like 3 other back row can just get the job done. It's really good. And then for Floodgates, I'm on 1 Skill Drain and 1 Imperial Order. Most of your spells you're going to be resolving on your opponents, or on your first turn, so Imperial Order is just such a blowout. It helps us not lose to Feather Duster, helps us not lose to, you know, Lightning Storm, you know, that kind of stuff. And if we're going to set stuff off of Lord of the Heavenly Prison, we can just end up setting traps anyway, so and just, you know, keep it rolling with the trap stuff. And then Skill Drain, it very seldom ever like really hurts you. Like, it turns off Arlecchino, but other than that, like, I guess it turns off Lord, but like theoretically you could be dropping Lord before you have to activate Skill Drain. Or if you just want to get the body on field, it can still be worth to summon Lord. I call him Lord, but I'm talking about the Heavenly Lord of the prison. Arlecchino is the only thing that really gets turned off, though. And in that instance, like, my opponent's under skill drain, and I already have a 2600 body. I probably have fairly easy access to Golden Lord. I probably have if I open, like, Heavenly Prison, then it's another 3k body. Lilith can still resolve under him. Ecclesia cannot, and neither can Kamika, but still, I felt like the card was going to do more good for you than not, and it's just, you know, we're playing a 60-card deck, but it's still nice to play those blowouts that you can just straight up win a duel, and it's just totally over just if you draw it. You know, you take those free wins if we can get them. So 60 cards in the main, that's where I'm at with that. Getting in the extra, it's not too important, but it's just a couple things. Keep in mind, we do play Extravagance, so some of this stuff randomly goes, and you just kind of have to make do without it. One on Imduk, this is just a way to clear your Eldlich trap monsters, just to get a body that also has potential to get an extra removal, but also getting them into the grave. I have double Lina here, mostly for the Eldlich engine, but also the I believe the Amazements are light as well, so being able to just make like a decently big body that also can steal something from your opponent's grave is pretty cool. But yeah, nothing too crazy other than that. One Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos between Lord of the Heavenly Prison, Eldlich, and Arlecchino. We actually have a lot of access to just high-level monsters, so making this guy is actually pretty big, and we play a lot of traps, so sometimes you can just play Protect the Castle with BLS. And then the last two things, kind of some spicy techs. One Bomber Dragon and one Boral Code. Theoretically, if you could put enough bodies on the field, you could climb your way into Boral Code, and then using his effect where, like, if he attacks, wipe the whole field, and then summon Bomber Dragon, or use his effect in grave to destroy a monster, and then or banish a dark monster and summon Bomber. Then once he's out, between Eldlich and Arlecchino jumping out of the hand, and Heavenly Lord and your Eldlich traps, like, you have such easy access to trigger this guy. I thought about the other one, but the other one doesn't make as much sense, the other Link 4, because you don't want to be banishing your back row, you don't want to be banishing your Eldlich stuff, whereas this guy just wipes the main monster zones, just still going to be pretty damn powerful if you can get it set up. So I thought he was cool. I thought it was an interesting option. And also with Lina, if Lina could reborn like a Link 2 light from your opponent's grave, you could just immediately make this guy. And if you already have like Eldlich stuff live, then like you could trigger this pretty easily. So it was kind of cool. Some interesting spice there, but I don't know. Then we have these. These are just because not only do we have the Eldlich, the Golden Lord, but we also have Heavenly Prison, Lord of the Heavenly Prison, who is, I believe, also level 10. So you can make this, burn for 2,000, make this, deal a bunch of damage, boom, boom, win the game. Cool stuff. And then it's just a bunch of punishment targets. Triple Intis, the most important one, and with Extravagance, you want it to survive. Titanic Lab, this is how you can, like, punishment. If you don't need the extra pop, go for this, get the Ecclesia, and then have the Ecclesia for follow-up. Wind Pegasus, cool card. If you don't have something else, like you just want to send a really annoying card your opponent has to worry about, this card does the job pretty well. Farragut, pretty cool for just like cycling a card in hand if you just want to look for something better. And then just a target to make sure we can clear something really big and problematic. So of course, just a 5,000 attack target is all I want to play there. But there you go. There's the extra deck. Nothing too crazy. Just some cool tech cards that definitely could come up. But other than that, nothing out of this world. There's my 60 card trap pile. It's a really cool deck. Like I said, it's kind of just a little twist on like the Eldlich variant, but being able to play a couple of other interesting cards and engines to see, you know, really where the deck can go and where you can do with it. Hopefully we get more Amazement support. I just made a video talking about that and what I'd like to see there. And, you know, we just got lair support as well revealed, so we'll get that in a little bit as well. So there's some interesting things. I think it's a cool deck. Hopefully we get more trap-based engines. That would be really cool to just keep the ball rolling and have more options there. But we'll obviously see where Konami takes it. But really cool. Let me know your thoughts down below on the list. I'm just one dude building these decks, so let me know your thoughts. I'd be curious if you have any cool suggestions for other stuff I can play in the deck, but that's going to do it for me here today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Subscribe if you have not yet and you want to see more profiles in the future. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.